Jesse McCary was welding on top of a 1,000-gallon fuel tank in South Oklahoma City when it exploded. The blast blew the top of the tank and McCary into the air. The victim then landed in the tank. Two of his friends, Dave Barrett and Ken Uselman, ran to his rescue. The men saved his life.
I didn't want to lose a friend. He's a good friend of mine, and I didn't want him laying in there in the fire. I didn't know if that end got fire in it or not. I was just going to get him out. That's all I was worried about.
Ken, did you think about your own life, perhaps in losing it and going after your friend?
No, I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about getting him out. That's all I was worried about. There wasn't no use in him staying in there. He'd been hurt out here before, and he didn't need to be staying in there anyway.
Officials say welding is a common practice on the fuel tanks, and that an accident of this sort is uncommon. Jesse McCary, who escaped possible death because of a heroic rescue, is in fair condition tonight at South Community Hospital. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in South Oklahoma City.
Somebody who gives up on Bill Saxon doesn't know Bill Saxon. Somebody that I don't think it leaves the University of Oklahoma in the lurch. And for me, it's not moving to a big corporate job with a big posh salary or to a greater prestigious university. It puts me in the middle of issues, in the middle of action, the middle of challenge. And, you know, that's a story that will have to be finished.
Today, the flags were raised over the new Oklahoma Monument to Aviation at Tinker Air Force Base. The structure is more than a monument to American aviation. It's a monument to American ingenuity. The Wright Flyer replica was constructed by base employees with scrap stainless steel tubing. Money for the monument was donated by individuals and organizations. The original flyer, designed by Orville and Wilbur Wright in 1908, gave birth to the age of aviation. a time of great and complex advancements. The monument symbolizes the vital role in which Oklahomans have played in aviation. Debbie Mash, Action 4 at Tinker Air Force Base.
This is a two-phase project. We're going to tear out the center lanes first, rebuild those, put traffic on the new center lanes, and then tear out the outside lanes. This is going to be a major headache for commuters coming in from the north. There's approximately 53,400 cars and trucks per day go over that bridge.
The I-240 bridge and the Broadway Extension is the main artery for downtown motorists. The well-traveled bridge is showing signs of heavy traffic and old age. The bridge is almost 20 years old, and the upper deck is deteriorating. In recent years, repair crews have patched and patched until they can effectively patch no more. The wear and tear of heavy traffic is even noticeable on the underside of the bridge. In some places, board and wire patchwork can be seen. But all this will soon come down, and crews will construct a new $9 million bridge. Equipment and supplies for the project were brought in last Friday. While the worn and well-traveled bridge is being worked on, motorists will be forced to take alternate routes. The Transportation Department has a few suggestions. They advise using Kelly, Western, Eastern, and even I-35. The department also suggests that because of traffic jams and detours, motorists allow a little extra time in getting to work. Construction on the bridge will not be complete for 10 months. Debbie Mash, Action 4.
Well, it happened. Another traffic mess that'll inconvenience thousands of motorists.
The bridges over the Broadway Extension and I-240 were in such bad shape of deterioration, the Department of Transportation decided to spend about $1 million fixing it. Heavy concrete median dividers were brought in to begin the task. Traffic will be narrowed to one lane over the bridge on both the north and south sides. Yellow stripes were streaked across the road, and workers got ready for 10 months of extensive repair. The chief engineer says people will still be able to get to and from downtown.
There'll be one lane open plumb through Edmond downtown.
But getting on, the on and off ramps around the bridge will be closed.
Yes, they can't get on and off of I-240.
The bridges are nearly 20 years old. Hopefully, the new repairs will make them last a lot longer than that.
A familiar sight to Oklahomans is that of construction. From one end of Oklahoma City to the other, crews are building. And more of what they're building is churches. While commercial construction has taken a plunge in recent months, a number of area churches have launched million-dollar construction projects. Nichols Hills Baptist is constructing a $3.5 million building. Quail Springs Church of Christ, $4 million. Metro Church, $2.8 million. and the First Southern Baptist Church in Del City is spending $11.5 million. So far this year, the state shows commercial construction is running just over twice that of church and public construction. 30 permits granted to 76 permits for commercial construction. Why the massive church growth? According to Fred Minton of Metro Church, bigger is meaning better.
Maybe they want more for their church dollar, and maybe they demand more, and maybe they're getting more in these larger churches that smaller churches cannot supply. They demand more now. And instead of saying, well, that's the way church is, and, well, we understand, and poor church can't. They don't want the church to be poor. They want the church to be as progressive as those great big buildings we have in Oklahoma City and Dallas and throughout. They want something different.
The construction here at Metro and at other churches around the state is a sign of a new era, according to Minton. He says the churches are growing now more than ever because of the growing need in the community. Debbie Mash, Action 4 in Edmond.
They would like to have as far as in regard to this, that it be brought before the council.
As it reads on the agenda.
It is with deep regret that I come before you to withdraw Planned Parenthood's request for revenue-sharing funds. Planned Parenthood applied for these funds in good faith in hopes of necessary monies to complete the renovation of its present facility. Throughout the subsequent time, Planned Parenthood continually maintained its desire to renovate its building. At no time was there any effort to deceive any member of the public, city staff, or city council. When council changed the grant award from one for building renovation to one for services, a small but vocal group seized the opportunity to create a destructive controversy.
It looks and sounds like a video arcade, but it's not. It's the first and only computer camp for kids in Oklahoma. The kids, ages 10 through 15, are packing in hours every day learning how to program and even invent games to be played on their computers. Many of them have computers at home and are using this week to brush up on their skills. Even at this early age, they are already planning to make computers part of their future.
Well, I want to work at a place that has computers when I grow up because I like to work with them.
I was interested in computers because I have one at home and I've been wanting to know how to program different things.
Okay.
The instructors have noticed the kids have quite an attachment to the instruments.
Well, you know, we get in class and they don't like listening to us in class very much. Nobody likes being in the classroom. But as soon as we let them out of class, they just charge into the room like a herd of elephants so they can get on the machines and go to work. They really like working on the machines a lot.
It's an Apple logo, yes, and it has a little message to Channel 4 on it.
So for $295 a week, the kids are learning things that can help mom and dad balance a checkbook or figure out their income tax. We were impressed. After all, flattery will get you everywhere, even in the computer business. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at Oklahoma Christian College.
Oklahoma City has its share of new dancing clubs. They have been under fire for years from organizations believing more goes on here than dancing. Undercover police officers often go into these clubs to make sure all laws are being obeyed. Arrests usually range from maintaining a disorderly house to offering to engage in acts of lewdness. Dancers feel a lot of clubs are harassed simply because of what someone might think goes on here, and they say dancers are thought of no more than part-time call girls. The women at this club told Action 4 nude dancing is the only form of entertainment they offer.
This is not a hooking establishment. This is a drinking establishment. All the girls are paid for here is to provide time and conversation for the gentlemen that come in here. That is the only product we have for sale. And if a girl that comes in here and dances and we don't know her and that happens to be her line of work, she's in trouble.
Nude dancers doubt if they'll ever get the professional type of recognition they want. They only hope most people can tell the difference between a dancer and a hooker. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
There is a surplus of wheat in this country, and farm leaders want the Reagan administration to make a long-term grain deal with the Soviet Union to help reduce this surplus. But it doesn't look like this will happen. The president says he doesn't want to talk about a long-term grain agreement because of continued Soviet repression in Poland and elsewhere. President Reagan has decided to discuss a one-year extension of the current grain agreement. How does the president of the Oklahoma wheat growers feel about this?
Well, I'm not excited about it because, Ben, I feel that that was the least that he could do under the circumstances. I don't think it's going to enhance prices any. It might keep prices from going significantly lower, but I don't certainly look for it to enhance prices at all. And it was a token thing, but even that, I understand, was under great duress and pressure from members of the cabinet.
Coulter hopes the Reagan administration will soon realize the value of a long-term grain agreement with the Soviets, and he hopes policies can be developed that will put stability in farm prices. Coulter added that the U.S. is now considered a residual supplier by the Russians because political implications continue to pop up in the course of our business, and that, he says, puts the farmer in a bad situation. Ben McCain, Action 4. About 4 o'clock this afternoon, a man walked into this tag agency at Broadway and North 2nd in Moore. Authorities say the man was trying to get a driver's license with an invalid renewal slip. More police were called to the scene. When officers Gary Tipp and Gerald Bolin asked the man to step outside for questioning, the trouble began.
The suspect at this time pulled a large knife, lunged toward the uniformed officer, Officer Bolin, cutting him on the right side of his neck and knocking him to the ground. Detective Tipps then tried to pull the suspect off of the uniformed officer and was stabbed in the back and went to the ground. The suspect then turned towards Officer Bolin and tried to exit the store. And Officer Bolin drew his service revolver and fired 4 times, striking the subject 4 times.
The suspect, who still hasn't been identified, was dead on arrival at Moore Municipal Hospital. Detective Tipp is in the intensive care unit at South Community Hospital in Oklahoma City. Patrolman Bolin was released after being treated for a neck wound. Ben McCain, Action 4. Moore.
felt that
More officials have been able to operate the city's sewage treatment plant without an increase to taxpayers in over 17 years. But like most central Oklahoma towns, more is growing at a fast pace, and the town's sewage treatment facility just can't keep up. The signs of aging are everywhere you look, and the time has come where it is no longer cost efficient to make repairs.
We've had troubles the last 3 years. We got in trouble. We had a moratorium put on the city. No more building because of the overload of the plant. We were having overflows of the plant. We weren't able to handle the water that we were receiving, especially during rainy part of the years.
Some minor repair work is underway at the plant, and the new rate system has ended the moratorium. But now the city faces the problem of financing a new sewage treatment facility. More residents will have a forum to make themselves heard on that issue tonight at the City Council meeting. For Daughtry, Action 4, more.
Halliburton Services is Duncan's biggest employer. More than a fourth of the county's workforce has worked for this oil field giant. About 2 months ago, Haliburton began laying off its employees due to the recession. Since then, they've let go more than 400 workers. And those layoffs are beginning to take their toll here in Duncan. The State Employment Office in Duncan has been doing double duty, trying to help the hundreds suddenly thrown out of work. This office has been handling more than 800 unemployment claims a week. Last month, they found jobs for 125 people. Those figures are bad news for LaDonna Schultz. She quit her government job 10 months ago to take a secretarial position with Halliburton. LaDonna got her pink slip yesterday.
I went to Halliburton because I thought it would be a better opportunity. At the time I went, they offered a better job, a career opportunity. That's why I changed jobs, and it turned out not to be.
Many other former Halliburton employees in Duncan face similar fates.
I'm signing up for unemployment right now, but I have applied for jobs here in town. But there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot open. Jobs to be had, really.
Liz and I never would have bought our house had we had any idea that this would happen. But we didn't know at that time. Well, I knew it would hit Oklahoma, but I didn't think it would hit Halliburton as bad as it has.
Experts agree that Halliburton won't be hiring new help anytime soon. That will have to wait until the price of oil goes back up high enough to encourage energy companies to resume their search for oil and natural gas. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in Duncan.
They're holding up rather well. They had a pretty good year last year, which helped them, carry over. They're all making. We haven't lost any, so they're in pretty good shape. Our competitors are all suffering somewhat now that didn't go through a strike that we did. So the farm economy was the major factor of our current conditions, but that combined with the interest rates, of course, have been the major factors. But again, we've seen a downward trend in interest rates recently. We hope that continues, and an upward trend in some commodity prices, and we anticipate that to continue in the next year or two also.
May 27th, 1981, Tulsa tycoon Roger Wheeler is murdered while he sits in his car at the Southern Hills Country Club. It appears to be a professional hit. Wheeler is felled by one .38 caliber bullet to the head. A composite drawing of the two triggermen has spawned numerous tips about the suspects' identities, but so far the Tulsa Police Department says it still doesn't know who killed Wheeler. Earlier this year, two Oklahoma convicted felons surfaced as possible suspects in the case. Convicted murderer, bomber, and armed robber Patrick Early was identified as a possible suspect by Oklahoma County DA Bob Macy. Tulsa detectives later said they had taken Early's name off their suspect list. Oklahoma City bail bondsman Dennis Fletcher, earlier convicted of forgery and bank robbery, became a suspect after authorities noticed an uncanny resemblance between Fletcher and the composite drawing of one of Wheeler's killers. Tulsa detectives have not ruled out Fletcher as a possible suspect. A report in today's Daily Oklahoman claims that the FBI does know who gunned down the Tulsa businessman. The story quotes a source as saying that Boston FBI agents are sure of the gunmen's identities, but it adds that the Bureau doesn't have the necessary evidence to take the gunmen and those who hired them to court. The murder motive seems to center around Wheeler's alai gambling empire on the East Coast. The bullet-riddled body of the man who used to run those gaming establishments was found in Miami this week. Tulsa detectives today confirmed that they think Wheeler's murder was tied to his alai investments. However, the detectives admit that they aren't ready to arrest any suspects in the case. Scott Wallace, Action 4.
The date was August 6, 1945. The way the world fights wars was changed forever as an American fighter plane dropped the first atomic bomb on the industrial center of Hiroshima, Japan. Estimates of over 100,000 people were killed in that blast. Even today, the effects are still being felt. Many of the repercussions were not only the fatalities that resulted, but the long-term effects felt by survivors. For example, there is a high leukemia cancer rate among descendants of people that were exposed to the radiation. A Japanese student studying in Oklahoma City says that many of the men and women from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, another atomic bomb site, are looked upon differently today.
We young generation, gotta be careful about getting married with the ladies from those territories. I mean, talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because it's in heritage. Then we gotta make sure, we gotta check up before we get married if she's got a leukemia or not. That does affect our child.
Today, the mayor of Hiroshima called for a worldwide freeze on nuclear testing. He is not alone in his plea. Nathaniel Batchelder, a member of an Oklahoma City-based anti-nuclear organization, says a worldwide freeze on nuclear testing is a must at this time in history.
We're not calling for a unilateral freeze. We're not necessarily all pacifists. We believe there are enough nuclear warheads in the world, and to increase that number decreases the security of all people.
This Sunday, Batchelder's group will get that chance to plead their case to the public with an anti-nuclear rally at Stars and Stripes Park. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Tinker Air Force Base was a major terminal for rebuilding and modifying bombers during World War II. Workmen were used to dozens of planes flying in daily to be worked on. But in 1945, a lone B-29 came to Tinker. It was kept in a guarded hangar for a time and then left. To the tinker workmen, the alterations they did on the silver bomber made little sense. Not until August 6th. That was the day the lone bomber became famous, the Enola Gay. The people of Hiroshima had been warned days in advance by leaflets dropped from Air Force planes that they should evacuate the city. Some did leave, most did not. The Enola Gay came alone on that August day, dropped one bomb, and in one moment more than 100,000 people were killed. Thousands more died later from the effects of the atomic bomb. One bomb had leveled a city. One bomb had changed our world forever. A second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, and the war in the Pacific was over. The threat of nuclear war had been given birth. This is Steve Newman.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Governor Nigh.
Governor Nigh was in his usual good form as he opened the first news conference of the session, welcoming the national media. He couldn't miss the opportunity to place Afton, Oklahoma on the national map.
And I just know that Governor Snelling, 20 years from now, people will be trying to figure out as they read through the list of Las Vegas, Nevada, Miami Beach, Florida, Los Angeles, California, New York City, New York, Chicago, Illinois, New Orleans, Louisiana, Afton, Oklahoma. They'll be trying to say, where in the world is Afton, Oklahoma?
Association Chairman Richard Snelling of Vermont says the governors will tackle a number of important issues affecting their people. The economy, the environment, grain sales to Russia, and new federalism heads the list.
Our recommendation very simply is that we accept